You're listening to The Wells Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. John David Wells with you on Tuesday. Today's the 9th day of April, year of our Lord, 2024. For those people who are shocked that we're all still here, based on the fact that the eclipse came and went and nobody disappeared without any kind of notice or anything, congratulations. Humanity has existed yet one more day or one more solar eclipse cycle, whichever the case may be. How many people were actually disappointed that we lived through it? So this is Tuesday. What do we do on this broadcast? Glad you asked. We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We depropagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is opinion. Yours and mine. Let's compare. Let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. So, as the entire, shall we say, national ideology, ethos, law, society begins to deteriorate into a leftist miasma of people shrugging their shoulders and losing huge amounts of money, there is yet another story of how all of this policymaking has led to frank losses among people who are trying to live through this political mess. A New York man paid $1.1 million for a house in in a place in Brooklyn called Diker Hills. I believe that's where it is. Let me double check something here. Yeah, I think it's Diker Hills. Anyway, what ended up happening was Diker Heights, not Diker Hills. There we go. I knew I had that wrong. Diker Heights, $1.1 million. He bought it in 2017. Well, it burned to the ground the other day, and now he's been trying to figure out just exactly how to get the house rebuilt. His insurance company's hassling him. It's a mess. So this happened. The actual house went up in flames last year, and the reason it went up in flames is because squatters were living in it. You see, squatters were living there, and instead of using electricity, which they couldn't pay for in a house that they didn't own, they ended up using candles. Well, candles set the house on fire. The guy who owns the place is Zafar Iqbal. He's 53 years old, speaking to the New York Post. He has repeatedly tried to renovate the house. They keep coming back, and they finally set it on fire. He was paying $6,000 a month for the Brooklyn property that he paid $1.1 million for in 2017. That was one hell of a great deal on a mortgage, wasn't it? Only a $6,000 a month payment for a $1.1 million mortgage? Boy, that was impressive. Anyway, he says the house is causing him to go broke. He fears for his safety. Every 2 or 3 weeks I go there, but I don't approach. I don't know if these guys have weapons or whatever. My safety is precious too. Residents say the cadre of swatters took up residence in the Diker Heights neighborhood over the summer, quickly made themselves known by stealing security cameras and other goods from surrounding houses, and directly threatening the neighbors. I got a couple of contractors. They started working on the house, said Iqbal. Next thing I know, I got a call from the fire department. The house is burned to the ground. Cheng Chen, 46 years old, was charged with arson and criminal mischief in the November 29th fire at 1237 67th Street last year. He was saddled with a 6-month prison sentence after pleading guilty, according to court records. He burns down a $1.1 million house and gets 6 months at Rikers Island. Chen told police the fire was caused by candles. I was smoking a cigarette, lit a candle while I had the stove on to heat water so I could keep myself warm. I went downstairs to take a shower. When I came back, I saw flames and smoke everywhere. Yeah, 6 months. The New York Police Department told Fox News that Chen started the fire intentionally and recklessly. The inferno caused $900,000 in damage on a $1.1 million house. This, according to the New York Post, took dozens of firefighters an hour to extinguish. Someone got in there and torched my house, said Iqbal. That's when I found out it was a squatter. Squatters have more rights than homeowners. I'm the owner of the house. How much more can I do? I need help. He's been waiting for months since the house for his insurance claim to go through. He told the Post once it does, he plans to fix the 8-bedroom, 4-bath home that has become a source of complaints in the neighborhood. By the way, this is being reported by Fox News, in case you're wondering. New York, most notably in New York City, has been rocked by repeated instances of squatting cases, including a handful that have turned violent, even murderous. Thomas Buckleman, who was brutally beaten with a baseball bat by a squatter when he was hired to winterize a building in Blue Point, actually survived 3 skull fractures to his skull, blood on his brain. He told local media that he thought he was going to die. Yeah, and that was probably a pretty good estimate. So squatters, they're everywhere. We have some here in Texas. And what are they trying to do about it? What are they going to do about it? Well, New York is stuck. They have a massive problem. They are stuck because they have lawed themselves into a corner. Okay? They truly have. They have created laws that protect people who should be thrown out of the properties that they're living in. They've decided that the homeowners are the problems. And so what they do is they have this private property problem, this private property tax Jones in New York. If you've got private property, they're going to tax you until you don't have private property in New York. This, in coupling with the Trump real estate mess that New York has created for itself, why in heaven's name would you own a property in New York? It's valueless. And of course, now you can't sell it. You can't sell it because if someone tries to buy your home, then the state of New York is going to look over their actual financial statements to see if they're true. And if they're not true, what's going to end up happening is that they're going to be sued in superior court. Because obviously what you've done is you've created a financial statement that's false in order to get lower interest rates. In other words, New York State will now oversee every single New York real estate deal to try to find out whether or not the person trying to buy that real estate is a fraud. And now we can't get rid of squatters. So what is going on? Well, Senator Mario Mattia, let me make sure I got this right, Matera, a New York Republican lawmaker, is railing against the state's squatting epidemic with a bill that would allow police to immediately evict squatters while ushering law and order back into the Democrat-run state, he says. That's a political statement. We need to make sure that we fix this huge epidemic right now. It's becoming more and more prevalent, said the Republican state lawmaker. He represents the 2nd Senate District on Long Island. He told Fox News Digital in a Zoom interview this week. New York, most notably New York City, has been rocked by repeated instances of squatting cases, including a handful that have turned violent. Matera pointed to one man on Long Island. I just told you about him. His name was Thomas Buckleman, brutally beaten with a baseball bat by a squatter. And I explained the whole thing to you. We need to fix this now so we can stop the bleeding, literally. The bleeding needs to stop. People are getting hurt. People are getting killed. And what are we doing about it? Guess what? My bill gives the tools to law enforcement to get the job done. Matera introduced a four-part bill package last month, including Senate Bill S-8867, which would notably allow police to immediately evict a suspected squatter based on the legal homeowner's sworn testimony complaint. Just by a complaint, calling police officers, prove that you're the owner of the house, and you have the arresting or you have the attesting to certain facts, can immediately cause a squatter or unauthorized persons to be evicted from residential property by a police officer on the spot without court intervention, which is the way it ought to be. If you don't own that house, out. Out. The bill is styled after a bill in Florida. The Republican Governor Ron DeSantis recently signed into law, eliminates the squatter scam. Matera lauded Florida and DeSantis for the bill's passage, called on Democrats in New York to rally around the bill, as Democrats did in Florida. They better. They better. See, this is all headed towards a giant implosion of leftist governance, a giant implosion. The left is absolutely destroying itself. And I don't know why. I don't know why they're doing it, whether or not they just decided that they were invincible. After they got President Biden elected, by golly, we can do anything. We can get an eggplant elected to the presidency because we're just so good at running elections. That means we're so good at running everything else. And that's what we're going to do. And it's falling on its face. And reality is catching up. Reality is catching up. How? How's reality catching up? I mean, this has been going on for decades and decades. What's the difference? The difference is communication. The difference is the stranglehold on news has been broken by people like me. Because suddenly you don't have to wait for the 6 o'clock news to get the news. By golly, you can wake up and do your first part of your day's work, turn on the Wells Report while you're working, and get the news. It doesn't require ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, anybody else. It doesn't require anybody. It just requires you to have two things going for you. One, you don't have time to read all the news. Two, you know a guy that does. The point of that is that there is communication, coast to coast, north to south, instantly. And everybody can see what everybody else is doing. And the left hasn't caught up to that yet. The left, like most things they do, don't see the fact that mass communication is making their political agenda known as dishonest and destructive. So what is their response? To stop dishonest and destructive policymaking? Oh, no, no, no. No, it's to censor free speech. Oh, my. These pieces are coming together, John David. By golly, you just put another couple of pieces together. That's exactly right. The reason that we are able to know about the squatter problem in New York and the squatter problem in Florida through a news media that edits and propagandizes news is because of the internet. And if you can control Google, and if you can control Facebook, and if you can control X, if you can control this mass communication, goes back to the good old days where, by golly, the three major networks could do whatever they wanted to with the news. Of course, back then, there were laws that forbade people from using the news as propaganda because of political endeavor. Those laws no longer exist. So now it's Katie bar the door. My goodness gracious, the only thing that stops anyone from using the news as a bludgeon against your political opponents is their own personal integrity. I don't mean this to sound self-serving, but when I do the news, I do the news. When I make comment, I make comment. I differentiate between the two. The news is essential. Commentary is not. This is the Wells Report Let me know what you think. 817-379-2172. We'll be right back with more of this broadcast in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. We are absolutely thrilled that you are here with us today. And hang on just a couple of seconds, because I want to tell you something about certain things that have changed. Hang on a second, if I can just get this right. Yeah, hold on. Let me try this and see if that works. Yeah, okay. So let me go back. There's a hand sanitizer issue, okay, that's available to you on Fox News. And and you should actually take a look at this, because if you buy hand sanitizer, it's something that you really do need to be aware of here. Hand sanitizer has been formulated, instead of using ethanol, which is the kind of alcohol that you can drink, was actually formulated with methanol. And that created a recall. And I got the wrong link on this. So let me get this worked out. Sanitizer, I-Z-E-R, hand sanitizer, so that you can see this. Yeah, and it also involves aloe gel, which is something that I use because I'm a fair-skinned guy and I get barbecued in the sun, and aloe gel is blissful relief from said same. Man, I tell you what, I really get burned. Several lots of hand sanitizer and aloe gel are being recalled for containing methanol. That can put consumers at risk for serious health issues, according to federal health officials. The recall affects 40 lots of Aruba Alloy It's Aruba Aloe hand sanitizer gel, alcohol 80%, and Aruba Aloe alcoholata gel, which contains alcohol denatured with methanol, according to a notice posted by the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA warned in a recent recall that substantial methanol exposure can cause nausea, vomiting, headache, blurred vision, coma, seizures, permanent blindness, as well as permanent damage to the central nervous system or death. And since aloe is something that you use to ease a sunburn, and you put it all over your skin and so on, it will seep into your system. If that seepage includes methanol, it's going to screw you up. All right? There's no doubt. And I'm telling you this is serious. And the reason I'm saying this is because, well, the summer sunburning season is coming up, and you can find yourself in a big mess with all of those symptoms, including dying over this. Consumers are being told to stop using the products and discard them. Aruba Aloe Balm NVs, affected hand sanitizer gel, is packaged in a 12 fluid ounce dark green plastic bottle, has white labels reading in part Aruba Aloe hand sanitizer gel, 80% alcohol, made in Aruba's world's finest aloe, which is not, by the way, in English. Let me show you this. Let me show you this picture of this stuff so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Let me zoom in just a little bit here and get you a big picture so that you can see the big picture. Now, if I could only get my computer to work properly, that would be just so much fun. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, do your thing. Zoom in. All right, here we go, and I'll show it to you. That is what the bottle looks like. Aruba Aloe hand sanitizer gel, 80% alcohol. Unfortunately, it's the wrong kind of alcohol, and it will absorb into your skin and could quite literally kill you. And I thought you'd like to know. All right, so Aruba Joe, not so good. All right, so let it go. Take it back to the store, get your money back. There are only 40 lots affected. Some of this stuff isn't necessarily going to be contaminated with methanol, but you won't know one way or another unless you can get the lot numbers, and that was not in the article. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Leftonomics, leaving people in the lurch, especially in California. We've got more details on that as we continue here on the Wells Report.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. I want to say good morning. Hang on just a couple of seconds. Speaking of saying good morning. How are you this morning? Yeah, fantastic. Got to call those guys. So anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. I was talking a little bit about finances and a little bit about economic policy. And a little bit about legal policy and political policy, all emanating from the left. Leftism is costing people a lot. It's costing them their homes, in some cases costing them their lives, their loved ones, etc. And leftism is mighty dang expensive. So expensive, in fact, that there are people that are refusing to take part. California came up with this wonderful idea under the auspices of California Governor Gavin Newsom. All right. Gavin Newsom is a smarmy, flim-flam man. Now, let me do that over here because that's the news camera. This is the opinion camera. And this is decidedly an opinion. Gavin Newsom is a slimy, flim-flam man. Just my opinion. The guy's a flim-flam man. He is a narcissistic, crazy person. The man is insane in my view. Now, I have a rule that says you can't accuse someone you disagree with politically with insanity. Okay, whether I agree with Gavin Newsom or not, it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not with his politics or the differences in politics between me and him. I honestly believe the man's insane. It has nothing to do with his politics. The guy's a nut. Now, politically, I don't know what he's trying to get done. And the reason I don't know what he's trying to get done is because he decided that people flipping burgers should make at least $20 an hour. My God, you can flip burgers and not make a living. Right. That's exactly right. Which is why you can go down and get a burger for what? $2-3? In California, it's going to be $7, $8, $10, $11, so on and so on. So all these people now making $20 an hour are going to have to pay more for things that they used to be able to get at a reasonable price, but they can't anymore because everybody's got to make $20 an hour. I mean, seriously, you're going to go to McDonald's, family of 4, and spend $60 on lunch? That's what it's going to take in California. I don't know what they're doing. I don't have any idea what they're doing, but it's not going to work. Let me explain why. A pizza chain decided to close some of its California locations before the state boosted minimum wage for fast food workers earlier this month. Mod Pizza has 500 locations nationwide. They closed 5 shops in the state at the end of March. This is according to Fox News. The shops were among over 24 locations that the company closed across the nation. The company did not specify a reason, but workers in Clovis, whose shop abruptly closed, told the outlet they suspected the California closures had to do with a new law that took effect in April. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. It just seemed kind of the right timing 2 weeks before all the fast food locations in California got that increase that we closed, said a Mod Pizza employee who asked to remain anonymous. The legislation went into effect in California on April 1st to increase the minimum wage for restaurants that have at least 60 locations nationwide, except those that make and sell their own bread, from $16 to $20. Okay? That equates to an annual salary of $41,600. $41,600 for somebody flipping burgers or making sandwiches or doing any number of other things, throwing together pizzas. $41,600? You know, I had to work a long time before I made 40 grand. Just saying. The median fast food worker in the U.S. earned $13.43 an hour in 2022. Those in California made an average of $16.60, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the legislation, which was Assembly Bill 1228, in September. In addition to pay raises, it establishes a fast food council, including representatives for both workers and employers that can approve further pay increases and set standards for working conditions. In other words, California took control of the fast food industry. The state of California took control of the fast food industry. They came up with a fast food council. Yeah, that's the commissar of public eating. Yeah, that's what that is. California is home to more than 500,000 fast food workers who for decades have been fighting for higher wages and better working conditions, said Newsom. adding the state is taking one step closer to fairer wages. I believe he meant more fair wages instead of fairer. Safer and healthier working conditions and better training by giving hardworking fast food workers a stronger voice and a seat at the table. The issue is that several eateries have begun to cut jobs now. No. Really? That's an effort to get ahead of the possible financial repercussions. For instance, the legislation led to the demise of Foster's Freeze. That's another fast food joint in the state. They just quit. Monica Navarro, former assistant manager at Foster's Freeze in Lenmore, said on the bottom line on Fox Business News, she found out when she got to work the restaurant owner closed the doors for good. The owner, Lauren Wright, told KMPH Television that this was the last thing he wanted to do, but knew that businesses would likely not be able to absorb the wage hike. Michael Ojeda, who's 29 years old, a Pizza Hut driver in Ontario, California, told the Wall Street Journal he received a notice from Pizza Hut in Southern California in December informing him that his last day of work would be in February. Pizza Hut was my career for nearly a decade, with little to no notice that it was taken away, said Ojeda. Mike, delivering pizzas is not a career, okay? I mean, if you're on the management track of Pizza Hut, that's a career-ish. But honestly, man, as a pizza delivery driver, that's not a career. And those jobs do disappear in the blink of an eye. It's just one of those things. Note to self, get a real job. Okay, if you want to drive for a living, become a truck driver. They do really, really well. You can find a trucking company that will put you through school, help you get your commercial driver's license, your CDL, and they will put you in a truck and start sending you around the country. If you want to drive for a living, make some money doing it. You can make a pretty good living. I know people who do make a really good living. And you can too, Michael. But it's not working at Pizza Hut slinging pizzas out of the side of your car to people who pay you $2 for doing it. Come on, man. But that's not the only thing. Leftonomics is also screwing up some other things, and finally people are getting to the point where they've had enough. The state of West Virginia has banned 4 major financial institutions from entering into tens of billions of dollars worth of state contracts because of their environmental policies. Oh, yeah. This is really, really good. Yeah, it's environmental, social, and governance policies, ESG. And the state of West Virginia says, you know what? We're not playing. West Virginia State Treasurer Riley Moore said that Citigroup, TD Bank, HSBC, and the Northern Trust Company, banks which collectively oversee assets worth trillions of dollars, to his state's restricted financial institution list after he determined they are actively engaged in boycotting fossil fuels. Guess what West Virginia uses to make a living? That's right, fossil fuels. The action was taken in accordance with a 2022 law the state legislature passed to fight back against the sustainable investment movement. Quote, "We're absolutely going to stand by our industries here in fossil fuels," said Moore. He was talking to Fox Business. Last year, the world burned more coal than at any time in human history. The consumption of coal is not going down. It's a myth that's proliferated by the climate activist left. So why would we put ourselves in a position to not be part of that? Exactly. If you're West Virginia and Citigroup, TD Bank, HSBC, and the Northern Trust Company are working at odds for your number one state resource, trying to kill the fossil fuel industry through starving investors from actually taking part in it, why would you have them do business in your state? Now, this is a restricted financial institution list. Why shouldn't it be a persona non grata list? In other words, these are corporations, because corporations are theoretically people. Why isn't that corporata non grata? It even rhymes. Why don't you just throw them out of the state? Because they're working at cross purposes for your citizens' futures, all based on politics. Overall, the Investment Banking Services Division of the West Virginia State Treasurer's Office managed $22 billion in banking transactions last year. The four institutions listed on Monday, including to the existing banks listed, will be barred from the opportunity to bid on those transactions in the future. According to Moore's office, the banks were added to the restricted financial institution list following an extensive review of their environmental, social, and governance policies. The ESG movement, which has picked up steam in recent years, broadly calls for investments to be pulled from traditional energy industries and divert those to green energy industries. You know, the stuff that doesn't work. In the fight against global warming. It's the Chicken Little agenda. The sky is falling. It's absolutely Chicken Little, and it's absolutely stupid, in my view. It's just stupid. Okay? I mean, I heat my house with natural gas. Okay? I heat my house with natural gas. In other words, there's a flame in a firebox that heats air that's blown through my house. Instead of burning electricity like it's going out of style to heat up steel to blow air across the steel and to then heat my house. That is plainly ridiculous, in my view. In fact, I don't cook on an electric stove. I do have an electric oven, much to my chagrin. I can't get a decent oven that isn't electric, which tells you something about what we're doing. Which is more efficient? Electricity-heated steel to bake your pizza, since you can't get pizzas anymore because people are closing down because they can't afford their pizza slingers to make $20 an hour. Which is more efficient, heating up a piece of steel or a flame? A flame? But you can't find ovens to do that. In other words, this ESG garbage is actually working. So meantime, I'm having trouble because ESG people want me to use electricity on everything. Great. That's really, really good. Why is electricity really, really good? Well, because people can turn it off remotely. That's right. Remember your smart meter? Yeah, that is a remote control for your house. That's exactly right. They can watch your electricity usage and determine what appliances you're using. Look, this ESG political leftist garbage is what we're talking about here. And it is covering many parts of our lives. Where we live, how we live, what we drive, what light bulbs we use, what kind of lawn equipment we can buy, what kind of lawn we can have. All of this free market where the people actually decide with their dollars. All of this free market stuff is just going out the window because, well, we just have to make sure that we don't overheat our entire planet. That's right. Warm weather will kill us all. They're going, well, it's not just warm weather, it's a runaway greenhouse effect. No, it's not. You guys are talking about absolute Armageddon if the temperature goes up 1.5 degrees Celsius. I can swing that. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I can wear less, but nobody wants me to. So all of this leftist garbage is truly leftist garbage. And when it's all said and done, when these people finally catch the car, these dogs finally catch the car that they're chasing, what's going to end up happening is that there won't be anybody paying attention to them anymore because none of this stuff works. And finally, people like West Virginia and people who own fast food restaurants in California are realizing it, and they're bailing. It's about time. This is the Wells Report. Back in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Hey, this is the Wells Report. Good morning. John David Wells at your service. Telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Thanks for joining us on the chat room. Let's see what's going on in the chat room. Let's see. People do not realize that forcing this raise means employers cut hours and benefits. Then all their workers are part-time. Yeah, that's exactly right. What's amazing on this is the left in their political meanderings believe that they're going to maintain the status quo ante even when they change everything. Okay, so they don't expect the business owners to react to their advantage. In other words, they have no problem with greed, grift, whatever it is as politicians because, well, that's part of the business. But they don't happen to believe that anybody else operates in that fashion. Well, certainly not grift, but certainly greed. I mean, let's put it this way. If you're running a for-profit enterprise, there's some greed there. And there should be greed there. Greed is good because that's how you make a living. And you got to be fair. You got to be professional and so on and so on. But honestly, politicians don't believe that business people will operate to their own interests. And then they come back with, my God, these big corporations are screwing everybody, Joe Biden. No, they're not. They're taking care of their business. Well, these big corporations shouldn't do that. Well, you know, there's law that says they have to operate in the interests of their stockholders. If they don't operate in the interests of their stockholders, the government can stomp them into the ground and fine them billions and billions of dollars. So you see, politicians have these corporations going and coming. But that's another story. What we're dealing with now is we're dealing with California trying to destroy small business. And it's ridiculous. Yeah, they will cut hours. They will cut jobs. They will cut benefits. They can't do it. Let's see. Living where everything is electric is not convenient during storms. This is Ann Hoy Guzman. Ann is absolutely correct. If it gets too cold, your electricity goes out. If it gets too hot, your electricity goes out. If there's a storm, the electricity goes out. My gosh, if it's snowing, the electricity goes out. We don't have a robust enough electrical grid in order to support all of this non-fossil fuel, all this clean energy. We just don't. We just don't. Well, sure you can. You can use solar panels. Yeah, unless it's a cloudy day. Well, then you can use batteries. Okay, what's the energy required to make a battery? How long does it last? Is it going to short circuit itself and burn your house down? Well, what about natural gas? It can burn your house down. Yeah, and it can blow it up too. But look back in your current time frame. I saw another video of another lithium battery powered scooter burning down in spectacular fashion yesterday. When was the last time you heard of a methane or natural gas fire taking out a house? We have regulations for that kind of stuff. Natural gas is pretty safe. It really is. Batteries, not so much. Well, that's not true, John David. Batteries are just fine. I've got a whole bunch of them in my drawer right now. Yeah, they're lead acid batteries, and those are fine until they start leaking. But if your car is powered by a battery that you cannot fly on an airplane because they're too dangerous, maybe you should reevaluate. And that's where all of this left politics happens to go. See, it's about left control of marketplaces. It's about left control of energy, food, medical care, transportation, all of these sectors of the economy. It's about leftist control of all of this. And I don't care what your politics are. It doesn't make any difference. We're all affected by this. We're all affected by it. And then when you add questions about our elections into the mix, this is a road that more than 3/4 of Americans believe is the wrong one for this nation. It all coalesces into this attitude of, what? And I'll be perfectly frank. All of this is our fault. It has nothing to do with these politicos. They're going to do what they're going to do. You have to allow for the human nature of wanting to lord over your neighbor and dictate terms of their lives. You wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. But they sure as hell would. And you've got to allow for that. You have to allow for that in their paradigm. So what do? You stop voting for them. That's what you do. There is nobody in California that should have ever voted for Nancy Pelosi again after she paraded around in her commercial-grade kitchen, hawking the benefits of $25 a pint ice cream. She's gone, fired, done, history, down the road, farther away than you think. Vapor, smoke, ghost, toast, out. But she wasn't. Why? Because the people in that particular part of California aren't thinking properly. They're not allowing what they see and what they hear to actually dictate the terms of their intellectual output. They're making a mistake because they keep electing the wrong people. Let's not do that, shall we? Hour number 2 of the Wells Report is next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to Low Cost Airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out each. We de-propagandize the mainstream media. That is not an easy job, by the way, just in case you're wondering. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. I have some. You have some. Let's compare those opinions and debate them, shall we? News, analysis, commentary, and debate. That debate thing, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. You can call me. You can show up on the chat room. People are talking on the chat room. By golly, you can do that too. So why don't you? Again, 817-379-2172. Gilad Erdan is the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations. The other day, he stood up in front of the United Nations, speaking forcefully against the notion of a Palestinian state during a United Nations Security Council meeting. This happened yesterday. He went so far as to suggest the United Nations had backtracked on its original goal of preventing the spread of Nazism. It was a hell of a speech. I've got some excerpts from the Economic Times. They came up with this montage of moments in that speech, and you need to see these. This is kind of important. Check this out.
From well before the establishment of the United Nations or the State of Israel, the Palestinians' goal has been clear: the annihilation of the Jews. Hajj Amin al-Husseini, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem and one of the founding fathers of Palestinian nationalism, worked hand in hand with Hitler to achieve this. The UN, the organization founded to prevent Nazi ideology from spreading, has committed itself to reinforcing modern-day Nazi jihadists. And today, breaking the Guinness World Record for rewarding terror, the UN now is in complete violation of its charter, is considering to force the establishment of a Palestinian terror state. Yes, to force it. If Hitler was alive today, he would be singing the UN's praises.
He's right. He's absolutely right. The United States does not have any kind of comfortable home inside the United Nations. We're the great Satan. Freedom and liberty, likewise, has no home in the United Nations, because totalitarianism rules in that body. Why do we have anything to do with the United Nations? Why do we do that? We pay more for the United Nations than anybody else in the world. We house the United Nations in some of the most expensive real estate in the world, or at least it used to be before the state of New York decided that they had to pass judgment on everybody's financing before they can make a real estate deal. The United Nations is housed in New York, in Lower Manhattan, for crying out loud. Why do we have anything to do with these people? Why do we have anything to do with this organization? I know exactly what we ought to do. We ought to say, okay, look, we're going to move the headquarters of the United Nations to Jerusalem. That's where it's going to go. Everybody's going to go to Jerusalem. It's probably the most international state or city of all the cities in the world. That's certainly the most international one. All three of the world's great religions center on Jerusalem. So therefore, by golly, let's go there. That's exactly what they should do. If we were if the United States wanted it to, that's what would happen. Let's move the United Nations headquarters to Jerusalem. Let's get this canker off the face of the United States of America. What Gilad is saying right now, Gilad Erdan, what he's saying right now is true. Trying to do what they can do to essentially eradicate Jews is Nazism. And it does predate the state of Israel. The Grand Mufti and Hitler trying to get together to figure out the best way to eradicate the Jews. And they're still doing it. Not those particular guys, but other people are. Anti-Jewish hatred and bigotry is so much a part of human existence at this point that we no longer hold accountable the kind of monstrous behavior that it leads to. We don't. We don't even call it by its name. We don't even call it by its name. There are people in this nation right this minute that will tell you that Israel is the problem. Why are they saying it? Israel's not a problem. Well, sure it is. Why? Do they start wars with other people? No. Do they, what do they do? What are these people doing that creates all this hatred? Well, what? They just go to the wrong church, isn't it? You're just a bigot, aren't you? And the answer is yes. These people have done nothing for thousands of years except live really well. They have been true to their code. They have tried to get along with everybody, all the while everybody trying to kill them all. Why are they doing that? Why are they trying to kill them all? Because they've been told to. By who? Their parents? Their leaders? Their priests, their imams? And they were also told to kill the Jews by the Germans, by the Nazis. And they were also told to kill the Jews by the old Soviet Union, who exploited the differences between Jews and Arabs in the 60s and 70s in order to gain a foothold on the world's oil supply. In other words, the Jews have not just been a political target for the Nazis. They've been a political target for the Soviets. They've been political targets for a lot of people over the years, and they still are. Iran now wants to eradicate the Jews. Palestine wants to eradicate the Jews. What are they going to do when they finally do it? Who are they going to eradicate next? Well, I don't know. In Minneapolis the other day, there were people yelling death to America. They're going to start working on us next? They're going to have a problem there. Going to have a problem. Because here in America, we won't put up with that garbage. We just won't. By all means, you want to go to your church? Go to your church. Have a great time. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your faith. Right? But that stops when you start telling me how to live, enforced with brutal death, torture, what have you. That's something we just don't deal with. We just don't do that. Sorry, he's just, man, we'll start playing cowboys and Muslims. It's not going to work. And this is not just an American problem. Great Britain is having a problem. France is having a problem. Germany is having a problem. In other words, after the defeat of the Ottoman Empire, when Muslims were relegated to other parts of the world, we are now inviting them all back. And the same problems are ensuing. There are people here in the United States guaranteeing that Sharia law will be the law of the land and that Islam will rule this country. It will not. It won't. And what are these people in London and all of these Muslims that are now running through the streets and trying to change thousands of years of the British Empire? What are they doing? I'll tell you what they're doing. They're ignoring history. The leftist political ideology that currently infests Great Britain is temporary. It's temporary. The British people have a very interesting way of going about their business. After going to war with some 90% of all the countries on earth while the British Empire existed, after doing all of that, they decided, well, let's live and let live. And so that's what they have been doing. Right up to the point where bad things happen. For example, the Irish Republican Army. Remember the IRA? They were basically killing each other because the Catholics and the Protestants were going after each other and so on and so on. And the British Empire sort of let it go on. Just go ahead and do what you're doing because Britain, of course, is Protestant. And then they finally said, well, we better start protecting the Protestants. And then the Catholics started attacking Britain. And then the IRA was formed. And the IRA started blowing things up. They turned to terrorism. And then they killed Lord Mountbatten. He was the strongest of the British royal family. Lord Mountbatten was an amazing guy. You really ought to read up about him if you don't know anything about him. They blew up his boat and killed him dead. And the Secret Air Service went into Ireland and started killing everybody responsible. Remorselessly. Didn't have any problem with it whatsoever. And before you know it, there was peace in Ireland. Do the Muslims in Great Britain not know that story? Sooner or later, they're going to make a mistake. They're going to kill somebody that's more important than the welcome that they received from the British people, that they now disrespect and crap all over because they want to take over the place. There are things bigger than that. God forbid that a member of the royal family gets trampled to death in some kind of strange Muslim thing, because that will end that entire movement. They'll simply be deported. They'll be gone. To me, when you are welcomed into a place, you don't start taking over the place. When you're welcomed with open arms and charity and grace, you respect that charity and grace. Is that happening? And so when you start thinking about the UN, when you start thinking about the UN stance on Israel, when you start thinking about everybody's stance on Israel, when you start thinking about how the very protagonists of all of this anti-Israeli hate, when you start thinking about that, happen to be Muslim, then you realize that these people are playing chicken. In other words, the two forces are playing chicken. Who's going to blink? History says one thing. The people that are playing chicken say another. I wonder which will I wonder which will come to the fore. Either way, I certainly will report the story here on the Wells Report, one way or another. This is that very same show. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. So, Dearborn, Michigan, where people are yelling death to America and death to Israel, that created kind of a stir. Video has the chance. They were denounced by Dearborn's mayor and other locals. The rally was held on the International Day of Al-Quds, an annual pro-Palestinian event held the last Friday of the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, to express support for Palestinians and their dispute with the Jews. Yeah. The event was organized by Tarek Bazi. He is a local activist who spoke out against what he calls Israel's satanic actions and the United States government providing funds allowing those atrocities. Apparently unaware that October 7th ever happened. During a brief pause, someone in the crowd shouted 3 times in Arabic, "Death to America." Several in the crowd responded. Washington, D.C. Middle East Media Research Center on Sunday circulated on X transcribed video clips of Bazi's speech from a video by Dearborn.org. One clip was viewed 2.6 million times. The platform reported the video came 2 months after the Middle East Media Research Institute MEMRI executive director Stephen Stalinsky declared Dearborn's America's Jihad Capital in an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal, in a column that drew widespread condemnation. In his speech, Bazi decried continued U.S. support for Israel, called the condemnation of America's role. Any system that would allow such devilries to happen and would support it does not deserve to exist on God's earth. Yeah, so when they get finished with the Jews, where do you think they're coming next? So when these fools ask Israel if Israel has a right to exist, the chant "Death to Israel" has become the most logical chant shouted across the world today. So when these fools ask if Israel has a right to exist, the chant "Death to Israel" has become the most logical chant shouted across the world today. And then he went on to say this. This is no longer an extreme position. This is no longer a fringe position. This is the position of every single human being on earth that has a mind, a heart, and a soul, and has a political insight and awareness. Strange. Isn't that wild? He doesn't mention the chainsaw, rabid, murderous, completely insane anti-Jewish bigotry that statement actually means. And if you call him on it, he'll say, "That's not what I said." Yeah, that's duplicity. That's duplicity. These people are standing right in front of you, spewing Nazi propaganda against the Jews. And it's become such a part of life in the world, it doesn't even print anymore. Well, it does. Whether people ignore it or not, that's another matter entirely. I don't ignore it. I report it. The rally was not disrupted by the chants, but not as nearly as many people followed in unison as other chants calling for free Palestine, which is basically the same thing. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free as soon as we kill off all the Jews for thee and me. I don't know what they're talking about here. Actually, I do know exactly what they're talking about here. But this is so disguised in the mantra of freedom and liberty for Palestinians. The Israeli ambassador calling for the UN to stop its pursuit of a Palestinian homeland. It would become a terror state, he says. Is there any argument that it wouldn't become a terror state? Let me ask you a question. If the entire world has to feed Palestinians in Gaza, regardless of the warfare situation that they themselves brought on each other, or brought on themselves, then how are they going to run a state where they actually have to make a living, where they actually have to provide the world with something the world wants? They can't, which is why the terrorism continues. What a mess. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells, thanking you very much for being a part of this broadcast. We got more coming up in just a couple of seconds. You stay where you are, please.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I was just looking through some of the information that I've been sharing with you today regarding Israel, the Palestinians, etc. And Columbia University popped into the fray again. And this is one of those things that, well, you look at, you kind of sort of shake your head. If you're someone of a certain age, then some of this is going to sound eerily familiar. Columbia has suspended several students over an anti-Israel event last month that featured a speaker known to support terrorism. This according to the university president. Columbia President Minouche Shafik said in a statement that, quote, a number of students have been suspended as the investigation continues into a March 24th event that took place at a campus residential facility that the university had already barred twice from occurring. It featured speakers who are known to support terrorism and promote violence. I want to state for the record that this event is an abhorrent breach of our values, said President Shafik. The student newspaper, the Columbia Spectator, reported that at least 4 students faced disciplinary action in connection with the March 24th panel, titled, quote, Resistance 101, unquote. That's the name of the supposed course, this seminar. And who was the featured guest? Khalid Barakat. Who is Khalid Barakat? Well, according to the Israeli government, Barakat is linked to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP. I know what you're thinking. You're saying, now, wait a minute. The Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Let's see. Why do I know that name? You know that name because they blew up airports all over Europe in the 60s and 70s and hijacked countless numbers of airplanes. Scared the living garbage out of a lot of people. That is the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Yeah. That was back in 1967 when that organization got started. And it's still going. Still trying to kill Jews. And still trying to enlist help in that mission in American universities. Like Columbia. Why in God's name would you ever want to send your kid there? The House Committee on Education and the Workforce, March 25th, also called out Barakat's link to the PFLP, knowing how he told Columbia students during a webinar that, quote, friends at Hamas and Islamic Jihad, unquote, emphasized the importance of support on U.S. college campuses, adding that by contrast, they don't care what Biden says or what Kamala Harris says. In the aftermath, Columbia also notified law enforcement. We hired an outside investigation firm to uncover all the facts. With their help, we identified organizers and participants, required them to cooperate with the investigation or face immediate discipline. We are still in the process of interviewing students, faculty, and other members of the community and gathering facts. I realize our campus has been deeply shaken by the war between Israel and Hamas, starting October 7th with the horrific Hamas terror attack in Israel, now unfolding as a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. I did not become a university president to punish students at the same time. Actions like this in our campus must have consequences. That I would ever have to declare the following in itself is surprising, but I want to make clear it's absolutely unacceptable for any member of this community to promote the use of terror or violence. Right. That's completely correct. And excuse me, but most of what Palestinians are doing in the world these days has to do with terror and violence. It's very simple. I've been looking at this. I've been trying to figure out how to best communicate this. It's like walking up to somebody and taking your pocket knife out and stabbing them in the gut. And then complaining when he knocks all your teeth down your throat and trying to blame the whole thing on him. I mean, what's it cost? What's it cost to get those stitches in that little wound? What's it cost? A few $100s? My teeth are going to cost me 20 grand. You are a villain. No, I said it this way on the next post. I said, Israel equals, how did I say it? I'm actually going to go there. I'm just going to go to X and I'm going to read it to you verbatim. And I've also got to call Apple Care when this show's over. Anyway, I'm going to read this to you verbatim because I think you should be able to. I think you should be able to actually read what I said. Let's see here. Was that a reply? Yeah, I think it was. Let me go back to the top here. Go to replies instead of posts. Let's see here. Let's see here. I'm sorry about this. That was a great post too, by the way. Remind me to give you the free speech post. Let's see. Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. This is taking a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take because apparently I've been kind of busy. Let's see. How did we get this done? Damn it. Dang, I am so sorry. I am just so sorry that this took so long here. But what I said was to the fact of you know, oh, here it was. Palestinian or Palestine or Hamas. It was Hamas, not Palestinians. Different people. Hamas equals terrorism. Israel equals self-defense from terrorism. That's the simplest way I can say it. It's the simplest way I can say it. And there were other statements that were made by Dr. Phil, for example. You know, he was listening to some Palestinian in a debate with a non-Palestinian. He was saying, you know, going into somebody's house and killing one of their children, he was more graphic about how that child died, is wrong. And an explanation over hundreds of years of animus between Palestinians and Israelis doesn't change the fact that going into somebody else's house and killing a baby is wrong. And that happened on October 7th. And now it's coming to America. It's already come to Europe as if it never left. I was just telling you about the PLFP. You know, those people blew up airports in the 70s along with Black September and the Red Brigades and all of these pro-Palestinian organizations buying into this mess. And these same people, these same agents provocateurs are trying to do it again. One of them showing up on the campus of Columbia University to try to recruit people into anti-Jewish horror. It's not the same. It's not the same paradigm. Israel is not going to put up with this. They will act. And it will be sudden. And it will be amazingly kinetic, just like we've seen in Gaza. And all these people that are complaining about Israel playing too tough with these Hamas terrorists. And yes, Israel's made mistakes. They absolutely have. You know, Hamas can do anything they want without any kind of repercussion, one way or another. They can do anything they want to. But Israel can't make a single mistake, or they lose the PR war. They lose the high ground morally. And Hamas knows it. Gets back to, you know, walking up to somebody and stabbing them in the gut with your pocket knife, and then complaining about the fact that he just knocked all your teeth down your throat. Well, if you don't stab the guy, then you don't have that problem, do you? Well, but he shouldn't have beaten me up so harshly. Yes, he should have. How else are you going to learn? And every time something like that happens, huge amounts of money come into Palestine, huge amounts of food and riches and so on and so on. The Palestinians have been making a living doing this for decades. Palestinians don't want a Palestinian state. They've had a chance to have one 4 times. They've turned it down every single time. Why? Well, because there are two reasons. One, if we have our own nation, then we're going to have to actually start working for a living. We're going to have to provide the world with something that is more valuable than come and look at all of our collection of suicide vests and rockets that we fire on defenseless civilians and how many times we killed Israelis when their back was turned. And you can't sell that. The Palestinian Terror Museum is not going to be on the world's top list of tourist attractions. You're going to have to do something else. At one time, Palestinians were the most highly educated people on the planet. What happened to those people? They were seduced by anti-Jewish bigotry, and they turned themselves into an entire country full of terrorists. And you're saying, my gosh, John David, what about the innocent Palestinians? Well, the innocent Palestinians support terror. We know that to be true. They voted for it. They installed terrorists as their government. And if they have their own homeland, there is no possible way that a bunch of people that know how to wire a suicide vest perfectly is going to be able to make what? Steak Diane? For a tourist who's coming out to see some of the most beautiful beaches on the Mediterranean? Because that's what's on the west coast of the Gaza Strip. You're just not going to be able to do that. You can't turn that over overnight. You just can't do it. These people don't have any kind of ways of feeding themselves. They start a war with somebody, but they can't feed their own citizens. They probably should have thought ahead. But then again, why would they think ahead? Because whenever Israel takes out Palestinians for one reason or another, the entire world comes to the aid of Palestinians and sends them food upon food upon food. And whenever the food shipments slow down a little bit, well, we're facing famine. The kids are starving to death. And Israel is a horrible country because they killed kids on the way to school. In the middle of a war, the kids were on the way to school. If I was a parent, we'd be living in our basement. We'd be living in our basement, and whatever you were missing in school, don't worry about it. We've got books here. We can continue your education. Everything will be fine, but you're not walking out on the street. It's ridiculous. The whole thing's nuts. And the world's response to it belies anti-Jewish hatred. How could it be anything else? How could it be anything else? By all means, go ahead. Try to give the Palestinians a land of their own. They don't know how to run one. They're more adept at starting fires than organizing a fire department to put the fires out. Completely different skill set. And that's what the world has participated in with every check sent to the Palestinians over the years. Every humanitarian mission sent to the Palestinians over the years. You have extended the terrorist infrastructure in Palestine over the years instead of letting it wither and die in place of peace and mutual prosperity. The entire world has participated in creating a Palestinian terror state. And that's what happens when you let your politics do your thinking for you. That's what happens when you allow your anti-Jewish bigotry to rule your life. And you can say, well, it's not a whole lot of people. Well, yeah, okay, but, there were people at Columbia University listening to that terrorist try to recruit them the other day. And after getting their butts kicked, Columbia finally said, oh my God, we got to stop this. Yeah, we got to stop this. You absolutely do. And so they stomped on everybody that had anything to do with that particular rally. But that hate is still there, isn't it? People willing to listen are still at Columbia. They're going to go after all those guys? The quiet ones? Until you start making bigotry, any kind of bigotry, until you start making that a very serious career-limiting gesture, then bigotry is going to win. And it's about time for that to stop. Quick, before it starts World War III. Can we please back away from this? I certainly hope so. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells, thanking you so much for being with us today. Rand Paul has written an op-ed piece on Fox News. You can find it there. He talks a little bit about the great COVID cover-up. According to this piece, an investigation has recently discovered government officials from 15 federal agencies knew in 2018 the Wuhan Institute of Virology was trying to create a coronavirus like COVID-19. These officials knew the Chinese lab was proposing to create a COVID-19-like virus. Not one of the officials revealed this scheme to the public. In fact, 15 agencies with knowledge of the project have continuously refused to release any information concerning this alarming and dangerous research. Yeah, they were briefed on the project proposed by Peter Daszak and the Eco Health Alliance and the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The project was called Diffuse. It proposed to insert a furin cleavage site into a coronavirus to create a novel chimeric virus that would have been shockingly similar, if not identical, to COVID-19. There's awful lot of scientific mumbo-jumbo in that. But what I'm trying to figure out is just exactly why is it that these agencies didn't want to discuss this or have anything to do with this publicly? Why is that? Rand Paul was on Laura Ingraham last night. This is what he had to say.
they were lying. And the lying had real consequences for children, their mental health, their education, for business, for our faith, not being able to go to houses of worship. I mean, that's fundamental American freedoms. And I'll ask you again, what should the consequences be for Anthony Fauci?
Jail. You know, I've sent 2 referrals to the Department of Justice. I think he lied to Congress, which is a felony. You know, several folks from the Trump administration were accused of lying to Congress and carted off to jail with FBI agents all over their property, yanking them out of their house early in the morning. But we have 2 tiers of justice here. It depends on whether you were a supporter of Donald Trump or you're a supporter of big government, the centralized government. But Anthony Fauci did lie to Congress. We know that from his own words, not because I say he lies, but his private emails say he was lying. Virtually everything he said in private contradicted what he was saying in public. And he was fairly honest in private. In private, he said masks don't work. In public, he wore 3 masks. In private, he admitted that there was such a thing as natural immunity gained from getting the infection. In public, he was like, we're not going to measure that. It's unpredictable.
Yeah. So Rand Paul is still chasing this story. Why do I bring it up today? Well, first of all, it's on the front page of the newspaper. The other reason is this. So Donald Trump wants to be the president of the United States again. There are a lot of people in the United States that want Donald Trump to be the president of the United States again. But the people that are trying to stop him from being the president of the United States, both Republicans and Democrats, know full well that if Donald Trump is going to be the president again, then some of these people are going to be held to account for the lies they told the American people, not just COVID, but other things too. And so what does the left do? First of all, they have to decide that, I don't think President Biden's going to win. And then they have to start managing the panic. Then they have to start managing, okay, so if Biden's not going to win and Trump is going to win, what do we do? Well, what we do is we accuse Donald Trump of, if he gets the presidency, taking part in vendettas and revenge. It'll be all about revenge. And that's terrible. Revenge. Why is revenge terrible? Do you think that maybe some of these people deserve revenge? I'm not talking about vigilantism and lynch mobs and stuff like that. No, that belongs to the American left. I'm talking about equal protection under the law. And since when is equal protection under the law revenge? Well, it is when the left has been caught red-handed, lying to the American people, manipulating the American people, trying to take the American people to places they don't want, oppressing the American people, practicing tyranny on the American people, trying to circumvent the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, and all of that. And the people of the United States have responded in choosing someone that will do something about it, and that's called revenge? Really? You know what that seems to me? I guess if you're going to put any kind of harsh language on it, then the word reckoning is much more appropriate than revenge. These people did everything that they wanted to do politically all this time, and it's coming to an end, and they fear what's next. It's going to be retribution. No, it's going to be a reckoning. What is it that you people say every time you trample our First Amendment and Fourth Amendment rights against illegal search and seizure? What is it that you say? Well, if you haven't done anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about. Okay, American left. If you've done everything right down the center line, you think you're right and you're sure of it? Let's find out. In court, where your freedom is at stake if you're found guilty of all the things that look like you're guilty of. But in a court of law, not in a court of public opinion, egged on by cherry-picked data against your political opponents. This has been the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Thank you very much for joining this broadcast. We'll see you again tomorrow for another one. Hope to see you. Bye. All right. Love all y'all, even if most of you were late today. What the heck happened? Let's see what else. Karma, says Randy. Yeah, you bet. Let's see what else. Chief Guadiano, what are you doing, man? Good to see you. I'll have to give you a buzz. So anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate that. I was right in the middle of that Israeli rant, and I was saying to myself, "Gosh, John, does anybody? I mean, it's important. I wouldn't be saying if it wasn't important, but does this resonate with anybody? You know, is it doing anybody any good, or is it just fomenting the problem? You know, I think that I wrote something on X yesterday, or maybe it was this morning, where I said, and this time I'll find it because I'm not on the air. I can do this time. Let's see what I got here. Let's see if I can find it. Somebody reacted to it. I was talking about British Muslims. And let's see. I got a lot of response on, I was talking about Muslims today. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. This was really good, actually. We also had some silliness. A guy was talking about putting ketchup on a hot dog and how that was a sin. And I said, no, it's not a sin. For crying out loud, it's not a sin. Good God in heaven. All right, hold on a second. I'm just going to keep doing this until I find it. Let's see, that was Taibbi. Okay, and those are all the shows. And White House Press Secretary. Dagnabbit. All right. I can't find it. Why can't I find anything on Facebook? Not Facebook, on X. Why can't I do that? Doggone it. It was really good. It was really, really good. Anyway, the thing that I said, now that I've forgotten, I've been ranting so much. The thing that I said is that that when it comes right down to, here we go. We were talking a little bit about how Elon Musk, this was on X, Elon Musk was defying a British government's demand to take people off the platform that were saying things the government didn't want to hear. And I said this is why free speech is the most important God-given human right. With it, there is positive change based on public consensus. If we talk to each other at some point, we will coalesce into a consensus. At some point, after the arguments are over, after the motivation for solution is brought to the fore as opposed to being shunted aside for the sake of the argument, sooner or later, free speech leads to consensus. Without free speech, there is deadly, government-imposed tyranny every single time. And that's true. Without free speech, there is oppressive totalitarian tyranny every single time. Every single time. And we had better get control of it in this country. It's making itself a public liability. In other words, because of this free speech, we're able to talk our way out of it, talk our way off the ledge, this leftist socialist ledge. We're able to talk ourselves out of it. But what we're seeing here is we're seeing this virulent rhetoric, lawfare, subjugation, oppression, tyranny focused on someone who disagrees with them publicly and who may be the next president of the United States. which means they know what they are forcing on us is bankruptcy. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about intellectual bankruptcy. I'm talking about societal bankruptcy. Civilizational bankruptcy. All for the sake of their very, very small, very, very narrow power delusions. That's why they keep going after thought, because they can't change what people think of them. And so you got to think the right things or we'll come and get you. In other words, if I don't think the right things about you, I'm a criminal. Yep. Yeah. All right, that's all I got. I don't know. I was in a weird mood today. I hope it didn't suck. If it did, let me know. I depend on you to let me know when I suck. All right, I got to go. Peace, love, joy, out of here. Take good care, and I